U.S. Sugar didn't want to leave its political activism to mere amateurs, and so it did what every influential, wealthy political actor in America does these days. It substituted money for speech and hired actors to pretend to be grassroots activists. And so let's talk about what they're fighting over in Florida, and then we'll show the details on their casting call for political activism. The district in Florida that we're talking about is considering buying land owned by U.S. Sugar to use for the treatment and storage of lake floodwater. Environmentalists believe that using the land in this way will allow them to divert more water into the Everglades without harming coastal estuaries. The water would not only help replenish the Everglades, it would also provide an emergency reserve drinking supply for South Florida.
I'm against it.
That's, yes. Every thinking person should be. Those crazy environmentalists. And it's land that's currently not being used, and they're going to exercise the option to sort of buy it back from U.S. Sugar,
So
who wants to theoretically use it in the future.
So I guess there's an option to buy it.
There's an option, yes, and they want to exercise that option.
And U.S. Sugar can't just block. It's not like their land where you just can say, no, you can't buy my house.
It doesn't seem that they can. But if they can get the politicians to second guess it by showing that there's popular support against the environmentalist position.
Because the country is ready to rally around U.S. Sugar.
Exactly.
I sense
Well,
that. Yeah.
They may not like the idea, but we do like the sugar, though. It's a very popular product. And so U.S. Sugar was forced to put up this advertisement for background talent. They need political rally protesters. They need 12 or more people. No breakfast, but you do get cash, $75. I love that they have to say you do not get breakfast. How expensive is breakfast for 12 people in Florida?
Yeah, just get them an Egg McMuffin for crying out loud.
It's like $2.
Then just say breakfast included, you know?
Exactly. That might bring in people who the $75 is not enough for.
Or just pay them $70.
Right, pay
And then also get
buy
the
breakfast. Right,
exactly.
I don't think the 75 is good.
So basically, you just need to stand behind a fence holding banners or signs that will be provided. How about actually get Americans who agree with your position, but don't wear club outfits, don't wear gym clothes, just wardrobe for a political capital rally. Yeah. This couldn't be any easier. Well, it could be easier if Americans actually gave a shit about your position and wanted to protest on your behalf without being financially incentivized to do so.
Don't wear gym clothes or club outfits.
Club outfits,
so
yes.
Great. It's
So
great.
what does this say?
It says that they don't actually
It's not
have
really
support.
grassroots, right?
No, it's not.
That Tea Party is not really grassroots. The Tea Party is an absolute stooge, a tool for big business like U.S. Sugar and whoever else buys them. I mean, that's pathetic.
It's pathetic, yeah. And obviously the environmentalists on the other side have been pointing out how pathetic it is. Yeah, like...
You know, true Tea Party activists should be outraged by where this party has gone.
I suspect
They might well be.
Some of them are.
And I know a lot of people are watching this thinking like, this isn't the only time they do this. They do this all the time. I mean, it's sort of when you buy buses to bring people across state lines to pretend they live in the state that they end up in. That's some version of this too. It's just usually not as pathetic. Let's bring up a picture of one of the actors who, like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's happy to get a gig. I will be playing a protester on Thursday. Like, look, we want Americans to be less apathetic and to engage in politics. Apparently, it just costs $75. So
I don't think
there's nothing wrong with this guy.
I would not have hired him for the part.
No, you don't think so?
I don't think that's
Maybe it's the intimidation factor.
Yeah, it's the tats and the, I don't know.
But what I love about this also is that, like, I was reading an editorial today about how you want to get more people to vote, and people generally don't want to vote. And Obama had made some comment about mandatory voting. He's not actually in favor, but he brought it up, and there are places in this world where it is mandatory. And then they brought up that if you wanted to get people to vote, you could pay them. You could pay them like $50. It'd be a negative poll tax, effectively, and almost everyone would probably vote then. It would compensate them for having to take a day off work. That would never pass. You could never get the funding for it. But them using $75 per person to get them to pretend for a day to be politically engaged on the side of big business, they can do that as much as they want, thanks to the Supreme Court.
You read the story in general, like, what Americans were going to actually protest this? Like, I mean, what Americans care? Like, a bunch of land that you don't know, and if you live in Florida, you'd sort of like the Everglades, right?
You want it protected.
Right, and the idea that you were going to sort of, this is an outrage. Man, I mean,
what American will protest for the right of U.S. Sugar to maintain more land
that it isn't using?
Yeah, it's such a bizarre thing to even conceptualize. So why is U.S. Sugar also being so cheap? 12 times 75 is only $900.
Yeah.
I'm sure they spent a lot more trying to buy the politicians, but yeah.
Probably, yes.
Just also buy them. Maybe they meant not that we're not going to buy you breakfast, but like don't even eat breakfast.
We want you hungry for change, I suppose.
So
Want that gaunt look. Okay. I don't trust these protesters. They look too well fed.